So today what we're doing is setting up a proper fence for our chicken run. This is our half built, well it's fully built, but half sheathed chicken coop. We're putting in the fencing with some cedar posts from our swamp, and these are cedar shingles that we split from these cedar trees that were here for a long time, so they're pretty rot resistant. You can tell by the shingles that look brand new. But anyway, we're gonna put a bigger fence. We've got some, I think, 5-foot chicken wire right there, and we're gonna go as far as we can with this salvaged chicken wire, which will probably only be about to there, and it's going to be a lot better than this little snow fence that we have up for them. Our reason, yeah,
they keep jumping out.
Yeah, our reason for doing this too is to keep them in the chicken run and try to work on compost a little bit, but also for their own safety too. We lost a chicken yesterday, our first chicken that we lost in a year of being here, and the chicken's stuck. Anyway, yeah, it got taken by a predator, but we tracked it down, and just shortly after it was taken, and it wasn't, yeah, it was kind of in the swamp that way. And it wasn't dead yet, but I took it back not knowing that it wasn't able to be saved, so we just ended up processing it and butchering it and using it for dinner. So we don't want to lose any more chickens or ducks, so we're gonna install these much taller posts that are much more sturdy, and see how that goes. Huh?
Think that's tall enough?
We might need to go a little deeper. So we've got 3 out of 4 posts, well, 3 out of many, but 3 out of 4 posts in out of 4 holes dug, and it's pretty rocky here. I'm thinking this is because this is a log landing, so the lot that we have goes back a long way and it's kind of narrow, and there's all these skidder paths right here that we utilize as people paths, traffic paths. So they probably had put some fill here or something like that to make it, you know, usable as a log landing to get trucks and stuff in here, because there's a lot of like rubble like this. I don't know, you know, a little bit smaller than fist-sized rubble throughout this top 12 inches or so. And another thing that kind of is great about chickens is they scratch, and they are seed foragers. They eat a lot of seeds. Stupid snow fence. They're foragers, they eat a lot of seed, so if we ever try to seed any ground cover out here like clover or some grasses, they typically eat it no matter what. They typically eat it no matter what, even if we mulch it. So it'll be nice to get them confined for an area. It'll mean a little bit more supplemented feed, but when there's lots of more compost, yeah, but also when there's lots of grass and forage here, we'll be able to selectively let them out, and they'll be happier with the forage than the soils in our nursery beds. So that's kind of a catch-22 with the chickens. So we're gonna keep digging and hopefully get a good number of these posts set up. We're gonna have to kind of clean this pile of logs before we get around, because we've got some sea berries there. I don't know if you can see them, but those are thorny. They're thorny. Yeah, they're thorny shrubs, and those will be part of the fence eventually. So we're going to kind of come around. We're going to move this trailer. We just got our 4-wheeler back running. Go around this way, and then sort of basically this whole pile. and then kind of come back around that way. So they have more than just this little area to roam around. 21 birds right now, so they need a little bit of space for sure if they're going to be confined. So we're going to get back to setting posts, and hopefully the next few holes go pretty smooth. The first one went well, but these 3 have been a little rocky. So we'll see about that. So here we are working on the chicken fence again for the new run. And what I've got in front of me here is a red currant. It was a cutting. It is now a rooted plant. Right there is a sea berry, and right there is a sea berry. So my last fence post is right here. We've come along this far so far, and the fence is cut right there. We're gonna have another gate down here to where the finished compost will come out. So I'm going to continue working on fence posts. I'm going to put one basically right where this mattock is, and these sea berries and currants will be part of the fence eventually. The fence line's just going to run right back to the chicken coop. It'll be about double the amount of space they have now. And the next step is also moving a bunch of this old cedar and some of this, I think this might be fir or spruce right here. But anyway, we're going to move a bunch of that, and just going to put it on this pile over here because it's already a pile, and I don't really want to cut it up into firewood right now because we need to cut up some hardwood for firewood next year. So this will likely just be kind of we chip away at these piles of cedar as we can to use for shoulder season wood or for sugaring wood or for outside fires. So this will be destined for that one day. It's been here for about 5 years now, and it's still if you cut into it and let it dry, it's still very fine to burn, even inside of a wood stove, because it's cedar and it doesn't rot very easily. So I'm going to move some of this, and then I'm going to set some more posts.
Michael's been tearing apart this pile to get this run done so that they can stop kicking up our bed.
Get the run done! Yeah, I'm just making a bigger pile out of the 2 little piles. So at least it gets it out of the way up here.
As you can tell from these irresponsible loggers, they just literally plowed them into the ground. We were unburying them. As much as we think we were down to the bottom, we're not. But it's all worth it, and we'll make good compost and build that soil.
Alright, so we got most of the logs cleared, so I think I'm going to start digging posts again. That only took about an hour and a half, so that wasn't too bad. We just made a bigger pile, and eventually that'll be cut down and burned outside or something. We got our gathering. Check on the details below at the link below for details about that, but we'll talk more about that in another video. But for right now, we're going to start digging posts again, and hopefully we've got enough wire to get over the chicken coop. I don't think we do. And this is some used, I think, 5-foot chicken wire that we had laying around, so we used it. And obviously the snow fence didn't do the trick because they just keep flying over that. So hopefully they won't fly too much over this stuff. We're going to put a gate over yonder.
Right here?
No, right here.
Oh.
This is where we cut it, and this is where we'll put the gate for, as I was talking about earlier, we're going to start the compost up there, and as we turn it and turn it and turn it, it'll get closer to finish over here, and then that way we can just have a gate for a wheelbarrow in here, so we don't have to go through the chicken yard to get the compost. There's also a gate up there near the coop. So I'm going to start digging holes, and hopefully we can get another 1 or 2 posts in tonight.
And then get it done.
And then get it done, exactly. The main reason we're doing this is, I think I might have explained this in the shot earlier though, the chickens, we can't seed anything without it being fenced in, so that means we can't seed any cover crop or grass or clover or anything out here.
Yeah, and we want to hold back erosion, and we want grass so that the water can seep.
Right, yeah, not just run off. And plus it makes things cooler too, a little bit cooler, through transpiration and stuff like that. We just want green plants in the ground, because those are pleasant in many ways. So we need to confine these chickens because they eat primarily seed and insects. So when we feed anything, that's what they eat. So we're going to confine them, and that means a little bit more expense in terms of gas to go get food scraps. Some people pick them up or grain, but that's kind of what we're willing to compromise for right now, because once all the green is out here, once there's grass and clover and stuff for them to forage on, we'll be able to selectively let them out, and they won't ruin anything, and they'll be eating and perfectly good.
Just made this bed. Chicken, get! Jeez.
So, with that said, we're going to start digging more holes.
Get the phone away from its nose. Yep. Wow, Della Rose, you did it! You're a mama! She's got another one in there.
Does she?
Okay, help with the phone still.
Looks all clean.
Our doe just kidded her first kid. So this is all new to us. Michael had to assist in pulling her out because it's her first birth. So she didn't really know exactly how to push and get it out. So we do think there's another one in there. So we're just waiting it out. He's putting a string on the umbilical cord right now.
It's not broken. Usually it'll break by itself or the doe will cut it. But right now it's not broken. It's still attached, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. I cut it to stop any flow of blood.
No infection, all that.
And then eventually it'll be cut below the string.
And she is a doe, which is beautiful. It looks just like her mama. You saw that?
So cute.
Human scale earthworking on rocky Vermont slope land with the help of our goats. Here comes the rock.
Gravity!
So this is a project we were working on now that it's spring. The frogs are going behind us. So we are making a retaining wall. Michael's been moving these giant rocks. We have contour swales. Another one up there. And as we're cleaning out the goat yard over here, we're coming and bringing it here. We're building the soil. We have cardboard, and then we're putting bedding, and then eventually wood chips, and then we'll top it with soil and plant in it this year.
Yeah. So basically that, you know, this is a big south-facing slope right behind our house. So this is all brambles last year, so we couldn't really see the shape of the land. We knew it sloped this way, but we didn't really know it was underneath the brambles. So the goats cleared that for us. We cut all the brambles down, and we just basically took all the wood that was on top of the soil surface and tried to make like rough hugelkultur swales, and then using a lot of the stumps that are still here, trying to incorporate that, because we don't want to pull anything out of the soil.
Yeah, as you can tell, these are all logs. We have these rocks that we're using as well. That's a giant stump. That's another stump. This is even a small hugel mound with one of our chestnuts planted behind it.
We don't want to pull anything out of the soil, like any logs or rocks or stumps, because that's holding the soil back. So the goal is to build soil and not lose it. So we're hoping that when we get a nice rain, a lot of the soil doesn't run down the hill, because that's what's been happening before we got here.
So yeah, we're making this rock wall so we can continue to pile this bedding on over years, and eventually it'll be level with this, and we can put another rock wall, and we're going to top off this hugel bed with hay. We're going to use this for gardening space this year. We also have another hugel mound that will go there. We have that hugel mound with some chestnuts planted in here.
Basically, we're going to attempt to do small-scale terracing.
Human scale.
Yeah, human-scale terracing, which is not all that unheard of. You know, people have done that for thousands of years. Indigenous cultures all around the world have farmed on mountainous and hilly regions without erosion. So one way they did that was terracing. You know, look at rice paddies in Asia, or the Incas in the Andes Mountains. Those are all cultures that have farmed for hundreds of thousands of years on mountains, and they haven't had soil erosion. They haven't had, you know, a drought that was attributed to loss of soil. So it's a way that we can work with the slope and also prevent erosion and increase soil by anything that does fall down should be caught by the terraces, and hold water too by creating soil. So
yeah, these logs themselves act as natural sponges. Naturally, when the water falls and it's going downhill, these logs suck it up on top of all the hay and organic matter, the mulch that we'll have there. Because here in Vermont we have very unpredictable droughts. All last summer we've had droughts.
Usually every summer here we have a period of 4 to 8 week drought at some point in the summer, usually in late July into August. So.
Yeah, and with this rock wall that we are building, eventually, since this is a south-facing slope, this is a season extension where we can hold the solar power, pretty much, the sun, the thermal mass.
Yeah, the energy, yeah, exactly. Rocks, other than water, stone is the best thermal mass. It's the best mass to hold thermal energy. So, as Shakoi was saying, this south-facing slope with lots of big stones in them, in it, should theoretically extend the season and be a little microclimate. For example, this bed here will have not only this stone wall to hold heat, but also we're going to have another stone wall here, holding back this mound, so it'll also get the reflective heat from that stone wall. So it'll act as a season extension, and this will probably warm up earlier than the rest of the areas. So here's the finished chicken yard run. They're not quite too happy with it, and that's okay, because it's for their own protection, but it's also so they can work better. You see these ladies, they're doing their job. They are digging through the compost and kicking it up and pecking through it and all that good stuff. And we haven't lost any chickens since we got it up, so that's great. The fence posts are just, I think I mentioned this before, they're just cedar from our swamp, and we've been tying it up with just cool looking sticks. And we made a little gate over here, sort of like a wattle gate, and it works good enough. Some of the smaller chickens, because we have got a lot of small chickens, some of the smaller chickens kind of escape. I don't think it's through the gate. I think it's actually through, probably they jump up, or maybe there's like a hole at the bottom of the fence that they could squeeze through. It could be through the gate, but regardless, we get them back in. We just kind of open this door and we just chase them in there. But it's keeping the chickens safe. It's keeping them consolidated. They're working on the compost a lot more. It's getting more active, the compost pile, that is. And that's what we want, because we don't like to buy compost. We like to, all the nutrients that are produced here, we like to recycle them here and turn them into further nutrients for plants to, use. Shakoi, I don't know if you can see it. She wove this cool little scene here. Like a little fish and some water line and like some grass, and there's even like a little sun up there. Pretty cool. So we're gonna do things like that. We've also got stuff planted around the fence.
You can see the groundnuts coming up.
Ooh, groundnuts are coming up. So those are a vining perennial food. They produce
edible beans and tubers.
Yes, above ground edible seeds and below ground edible tubers. So we planted a lot of stuff like that around the run, and just waiting now for summer to hit. The leaves are just barely opening in some of these trees. We're a little early this year, which is, I'm not complaining. We've had a lot of rain this spring, which is great, because last spring was really dry and really hot. So yeah, we're excited about the chicken run, and we're excited that they're incorporating themselves into more compost work so we can use the compost. Also, now the chickens are contained, we've been able to seed ground cover, and a lot of it's coming up. We've seeded ryegrass, red clover, and some barley. So just to have a ground cover. So as you may have seen, we got a new little baby buck. We ended up harvesting our old buck. He was a year old. He's been too much of a sort of a headache. You know how bucks can get. So he was also not really from the gene pool that we wanted to promote. So our doe is a Seinen, not sure how you pronounce it, crossed with a Guernsey. So we like both traits of both of those genetics, so those gene pools rather. So we're trying to promote more of that. So the buck that we got has some Seinen in him. They're reputably mellow goats, so we want to promote that in bucks as much as possible. Speaking of goats, they helped us pretty much clear out and pasteurize this whole little field. Pasteurize, haha. I mean make pasture. It was all sort of brambly like this. I'm not sure if you can see that in the foreground there. A lot of raspberries, blackberries, and goldenrod and stuff like that. And now it's grass. So what we're working on is we've got a big hugel mound in progress right there. Right now we're planting a bunch of potatoes in these two little ditches that we dug sort of on contour to this little teeny slope here. Kind of slopes this way and then kind of bellows out here. It gets wet right here when the snow melts, so hopefully we're trying to catch some of that water. And we're also mulching out a row of fruit trees we've got planted. So right here is a Liberty apple with a native plum at that next orange stick rather. There's a Cortland apple. There's Northern Spy right there, I think. Another Cortland, you can't see it, maybe you'll be able to see it right there behind the hugel bed. And that's another Northern Spy that we have. So there's a lot of nut trees sort of behind me and these little orange sticks here too, but we'll cover that on another video.
Food forest in the works. Young stages of a food forest and production forest, obviously.
Right, and before we even touched it, it was still food forest because there's cedar here as an overstory. This is a really good, it's got a good source of vitamin C. So you can steep the needles in water. Same thing with all these raspberries and blackberries down here. They're not only food for humans, but food for a lot of people. I mean, not only food for animals, but food for humans as well. So we're just trying to sort of enhance it, I guess. So we're going to plant potatoes in these ditches, try to leave some of the soil on the side so we can hill them with it eventually. Maybe hill them with hay too. We've done that before and that works pretty well. And hopefully they'll grow nice and abundant.